Hello friends, thank you for watching this video. I am Mohamad, and today what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be integrating OpenAI Chat GPT 4.0 with our .NET web application. We're gonna be focusing on image analysis, where basically we're gonna be able to send an image to Chat GPT. It's gonna analyze what's contained in it, and then we're gonna be receiving back the response. So let's see how we can actually implement this. So now what I want to do is I want to create my project. I'm gonna put .NET new web API dash controllers, and I'm gonna give it a name, OpenAI app. I can call it whatever I want. So now we can see it's created successfully, and I'm gonna open up Rider. So now that my code has opened in Rider, what I wanna do first is I wanna open my terminal, and inside my terminal I wanna install a package, and this package is gonna be called REST because I'm gonna utilize this package in order for me to do API calls to my ChatGPT instance. So it's gonna be .NET add package, it's gonna be REST sharp, and as we can see it's being installed. And now that it has been installed successfully, I can open it up and check my CS proj, and I can see it there installed successfully. Okay, great. So what I want to do next is, and before we start writing our code, what we need to do is we need to actually get a key, an API key from OpenAI, which basically owns ChatGPT. And to do so, we need to go to this URL. So this is the API key that I have generated and which I'm going to be utilizing. And it's a test key, so you're not going to be able to see it. I have already downloaded it on my machine. If I want to create a new one, I can just click on create new secret key. And once I do so, I can provide the name for it. And once it does, I can get the key so I can utilize it. And the other item that I'm going to be relying on, it's going to be this, which is going to be the vision feature of ChatGPT 4, where basically I'm going to be utilizing this endpoint here, and I'm going to be sending this object right here in order for me to be able to analyze my image. So, and I'm going to tweak this up so we can get actual valuable information out of it. So basically these are the two information that you need to do. You need to go to ChatGPT, you need to create an account, go to their API, create an API key, and then you can actually check their vision endpoint, and this is the vision endpoint that we're going to be using. So now if we go back to Rider, what I want to do is I'm going to basically clean up this controller, and we're going to be reutilizing. So first of all, I'm going to rename it from weather forecast controller to image analysis controller. We can call it whatever we want, to be honest. Image analysis, and it's going to change it. Perfect. And I'm going to be removing this. I don't need this, and we don't really need all of this. And it's going to return instead a action result. I'm going to say get image data, anything like that. So what we want to do here right now is we want to actually build our capability to communicate with OpenAI. So what I'm going to do here first, I'm going to define a variable, and this variable I'm going to call it key, where my API key that I just got from OpenAI will live. And this is a temporary one because basically the purpose is I want to put it inside my app settings and read it directly from there. Then what I want to do is I want to define my REST object, my REST sharp object. So I'm going to put var options equal new REST client options. And through here, as we can see, it requires a URL. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and just take this endpoint as my main URL. Perfect. So now that I have done so, the next step is I need to initialize a client, my REST client. So these are the options that I'm going to be basically configuring my client with. So I'm going to put var client equal new REST client, and I'm gonna pass the options that I have for it. Okay, great. So now that I have done this, and now my options and my client are in place, the next step is I want to actually attach headers to this client, because if we take a look here, we can see that I need to send my header as a content type, and I need to send the authorization. So let's do this right now. So I'm gonna put the client dot add header, default header, and the first one is gonna be the key, and then it's gonna be the value. So the key for the first one is gonna be content type. So I'm just gonna copy this and add it here. As for the value, it's gonna be application JSON. Okay. Perfect. Now I need to add the second header. I'm just going to duplicate it, and this one is going to be my authorization header, and this one is going to be my bearer token. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to be passing my API key. So I'm just going to make this as string interpolation, and I'm going to pass here my key. Okay, perfect. So now that I have done this, now I have my options, my client, and my two headers. The rest what's going to be, I need to actually configure my object. So if we take a look here, we can see here that I have this JSON object that I need to send, and we can see that this JSON object is a bit complicated to build, but we can do it step by step. So first of all, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating a new directory. I'm going to call it models, and inside this models I'm going to be creating a new class, and I'm going to call this vision DTO. Great. So now that I have this here, let's take a look at my JSON. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my web browser, and I'm going to utilize tools that allows me to actually automatically convert JSON to C# object. So I'm going to say, let's go to Google, and I'm going to say convert Let's zoom in a bit. Convert JSON to C#. And there's a lot of them. Usually I go with the first one. Let's zoom in a bit more. And inside here, I'm just gonna paste my JSON. I'm gonna click on convert. And now we can see here, I was able to get my full object. So first of all, I'm gonna copy this. Again, we're gonna have to do some changes to this for it to work, but at least it's a starting point. Then I'm gonna copy the message and the URL, and I'm gonna copy the content lastly. Okay, as we can see here, we have a bit of a problem, because if we take a look at the original content that we need to send, we can see there's two types. There's a type what has contained text and type, and this is basically we're providing the question that we need to send to ChatGPT, and the other one is the actual image that it needs to analyze. So we can see here that there's inconsistencies between those different objects. And if we take a look at this here, if we want to send that content where we can have type and text and image URL to ChatGPT in that format, it's not going to work out. So what we need to do is we need to be able to separate them and then add those into the request one by one. And let's see how we can do this. So I'm going to separate this content into two classes. So I'm going to call this content, content A and content B. And the first one is I'm going to be removing the type. So I'm going to remove one of the types. So we can see here that content A is going to be specifically for text, and this is going to be specifically for images. Okay, but now this leads me to this, where we can see that content has to be of type of content, but I don't want to map them to one or the other. So how can I resolve this? Pretty straightforward. I can create a class. I'm going to put public class content. I can make it an empty class. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to inherit, this is content, not context. And I'm going to inherit basically this class to my two other classes. And you might think to yourself, okay, why are you doing this? Because basically what I want to do is I want to have a base class here, which is going to be referring to this when I do the serialization. And this is going to be my main item here. And I need to make sure my serialization works. Okay, great. So now that I have this here, now, as you can see, I might be facing a different problem here. Because as we know with system.json.text, whenever I'm trying to do a serialization of a basic class, and I'm actually utilizing the child class, it's going to create a problem. Let's not worry about this right now. Let's go and continue implementing the code, and then we're going to be seeing how we can actually fix this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an instance of that object. So I'm going to put var request DTO equal new vision DTO, and here we can see the information that I'm gonna be starting utilizing. So first of all, I'm gonna specify my model, and if we take a look here, we can see the model is ChatGPT 4o. Okay, great. Now we can see here the maximum amount of token. So this is also provided for us here. I'm gonna say 300. So let's put 300. And then we have basically my messages, which I need to build. So let's build this here. I'm going to put messages equal a new list of messages. And inside every single one of them, I need to create a message. And this message here, as you can see, it has a role and it has a list of content. And basically we're following the same items here. So we can see we have defined the model, the max token, then we have the messages, and then we have an array of messages, and every single one of them has a role, and within the content we're defining all these different patterns. So basically we're following the exact step-by-step pattern that is required from us in order for us to accomplish this. So for the role, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting as user, because that was the one that has been identified here. So let's copy this one, and then what we're going to have to do is we have to specify the content. And the new content here is going to be a new list of content. But if you remember, if we take a look at my Vision DTO, we have now two types of content. We have content A and content B. So we're going to be relying on content A and content B in order for us to fill the right information of what we need. And this is going to be the main item here. So I'm going to say new content A. I need to specify my text, and I'm going to need to specify my type. I forgot my comma. So let's go back here. So we can see the first one is going to be of type text. So let's take, and then the text is what's inside its image. So let's copy this and put it here. So this is the first content type. The second content type is going to be new content type B. And this is going to be where I'm going to be specifying my image. So we can see the type here is going to be image URL. So let's specify type image URL. And then we can see here it's asking for the image URL. It's going to be equal to new image URL. And then inside of this, we can specify the URL. And just to make it simple, I'm going to take the same URL that's available through this one, and then we can update it with one of our own. So I'm just going to copy this, put it here. And now basically I have my object running, or basically my full structure of my objects in place. Okay, great. So now that I have this, now what I want to do is I want to specify some JSON configuration, because right now it is a C# object. What I need to do is I need to serialize it to JSON. So I'm going to put var JSON option equal new JSON serialization option. And through here, I want to specify the indentation equal to true. Perfect. So now what I have to do right now is I'm gonna start implementing my API calls. And to do so, we need to serialize the object. So I'm gonna put var data equal JSON serializer.serialize, and I'm gonna specify the option. That's gonna be request TTO. Perfect. So now that I have this, now I need to actually start doing my call. So I'm gonna put var request equal new rest request, and it's going to be request dot add JSON body, because this is the body that we need to send, and it's going to be data. And now once we have done this, we can post that request now. So we can put var response equal await client dot post, and then here what we need to do is we need to specify the request, and this needs to be post async. And now because of this, what we have to do is we need to actually make this as an async. So let's put async here, and let's change this to task action result. Okay, great. And now what I want to do also, which I forgot here, is I need to specify the options for my JSON serializer. And now that I have this, the last step is I'm just gonna put return okay with the response. We're gonna format it later, but for now it should be fine. And just as a heads up, this will not work. And the reason this will not work, I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to run this. First of all, let me add my key, which I have already created, and let's send a request. So now that my application is running, if I click on try it out, I'm just going to put a breaking point here so we know exactly what's going wrong. So I'm just going to put it here when we do the JSON serializer, and let's click on execute. And now if I see the object that's being serialized, we can see that it is empty. The content of my object is completely empty. It did not take my text, my question, and my image. And why is that? Let us explain it. Because basically my image serializer here, my JSON serializer, it's relying on let's close this. It is relying on the content actually itself to be provided in order for it to be deserialized, but we're relying on the child of these parent class in order for us to serialize it. So what we need to do is we need to add additional information to this parent class in order for JSON serializer to understand that whatever children exist within this request, it will be able to utilize to serialize it. And this is going to be pretty easy. All we need to do is we need to add an attribute, two attributes actually. So we're going to be JSON derived type. I'm going to put type of, and it's going to be content A, and a similar one for content B. And now once I added these two, now my JSON serializer will know that it needs to go to it will need to check for content A and content B inside the object, and then it will serialize it. So now let's run this, and inside here my web browser, I'm just going to execute. And now if we take a look at data, and if we click on view, we can see that actually the questions is already here and the actual image URL is there. Okay, great. So now I'm just going to go step by step through my code. The request is going to be sent, and then it's going to receive back the response. And usually this is a bit slow. And then if we take a look at the response, we can see we got an okay, and we got the content here, and inside the content, so this is the response, and we can see the image showcase a scenic landscape. So if we take a look at the actual image that we have sent, so let's copy this one, and I'm going to open it up also in the web browser here so we can see exactly what Chat GPT is seeing. So this is the picture that we are sending, and this is the response that we are receiving. So let's take a look at that response again. We can see here that the message that we are receiving, an image with scenic landscape, wooden broad walk, sky above, clear day, landscape, etc., etc. So if we take a look at this, we have a clear sky, broad walk, as well as greenery on the side, and that's a clear day. Okay, perfect. So now we know that ChatGPT is actually working as it should. So if we go here and we take a look at the response, we'll be able to see it here. And if you scroll a bit down, so this is going to be the analysis that ChatGPT has provided us. So now that we know that our application actually works with the default image, let's find a different image and we can analyze it. So I'm just going to go back to my web browser here, and I'm going to put Google again. I'm going to put Formula 1 image. Let's say Formula 1 image, and let's choose something. Let's see something like this. Reject all and save. And I'm going to open this in a new tab so we'll have a clear picture of it. And actually let's open it up in Firefox, and so we can able to do the inspect element here. And as we can see, this is the link. I'm just gonna copy paste it, and I'm gonna add it here inside my code. We can make all of this dynamic, but that's not the purpose behind this. The purpose behind all of this is just to see how we can interact with the OpenAI endpoint. So now that I have my new race image, let's see what's gonna be the outcome of this. So let's run my code, and I'm just gonna go back to my Swagger, click on execute, and run my request. And now we can see here here with the response. It says it's a racetrack. It was able to analyze that it's going to be a Formula 1 cars. It says that there's advertisement on the barriers, and basically it includes the notable hashtag of Bahrain GP, so it was able to identify the location. It also indicates that it is from this website, etc, etc. As we can see here that the vision option of ChatGPT 4.0 is actually working, and we're able to integrate it with our .NET application. So this video was a very quick introduction of how we can actually utilize ChatGPT or APIs within our .NET application, how we can utilize them in order for us to analyze different types of information when it comes to images and extract data the way that we want to. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the comments down below. If you have any clarification or any suggestion, please also put them in the comments down below. If you'd like to support me, please consider supporting me on Patreon or buying me a coffee. With that said, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.